This is Miss D, and I'm welcoming you to the very first episode of the Teen Scene 10 My Graceful Journey edition. I am bringing to you a whole different side of your Teen Scene 10 host. I am also a spoken word poet, and I have a CD that I co-produced. I wrote all of the poetry and I co-produced the tracks, and with a great friend of mine, Neo Brown. And this was about in 2006, 2007. And it was just an amazing project, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was such a huge blessing. But I recorded under the name BlackButterfli, and that's my pseudonym for when I do my poetry is BlackButterfli. So normally on the Teen Scene 10 I'm Miss D, but just a moment ago you heard from BlackButterfli, and when you listen to the tracks, because I'm going to play the intro to the CD that includes my daughter's godfather, D. Lord of Strictly Observation Crew. He came out to the studio one of those days and blessed the track with me, and I was so grateful for that. And you know, it's just been an amazing journey. My daughter will be 17 tomorrow, and this has just been an amazing journey. It has not been an easy journey by far, but as I said in my poem, I'm learning every day to trust God more and more. And as we know, many times in order for us to learn that, to learn how to trust Him, we have to have reasons. We have to be going through things that precipitate and facilitate the using of our faith muscles. You know, we have to build them. We have to build our faith. We have to see God bring us through repeatedly so that we build up that faith in Him and that faith in His consistency. You know, if He's done it before, He'll do it again. You had Ty Tribbett made a song about it, about God's consistency. You know, we say, God, you are so faithful. That means He is so consistent. He is a repeat producer. You know, he continually blesses us repeatedly. And that is something that I really want to focus on, you know, throughout. You know, as I'm talking about this journey, my graceful journey. My journey has been graceful. Again, that does not mean that it has been easy. It does not mean that we have not had pain, disappointments, setbacks. It doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't mean that we are without trouble or hardship or anything of that nature. But as you know, being a Christ follower does not guarantee you that you will be without persecution or tribulation. As a matter of fact, the word tells us that we will have tribulations. And so, but the key is building your faith in Him. And once you have that faith in Him, you will start to see His grace overflow in your life and in abundance. And that is the biggest thing. That is why I titled my CD, My Graceful Journey. It's the full CD is called My Graceful Journey, the poetic collection for the single parent. I have such a heart for single parents because I am one. And I understand the struggles, but I also understand the joys. So the CD is a combination. The CD is my testimony, and it is a combination of me giving you my testimony and telling you what I've been through and what my daughter has come through. And then there are those tracks that are uplifting, just me kind of standing on the sideline saying, hey, you're not in this by yourself. I'm going through it too. You can do it. Keep your eyes on God. You know, so there are those tracks that are very uplifting and Then there are those that are very emotional, and such as my fourth track on the CD is called Anger, and I really get deep into talking about forgiveness. Actually, is what that poem is about. Self-forgiveness. It's about forgiving the other parent. It's about just moving forward and knowing how to see yourself through God's eyes, and knowing how to operate in that as a single parent, and not allowing, you know, anything that has occurred in your life to get you bound up and just tied down to that. When we keep rehearsing the problem and talking about the problem, we nail ourselves to the problem. What we want to do is get free from it. So that's really what these episodes of the Teen Scene 10 will be chronicling, or I will be sharing each one of my poems with you and building a lesson around it. So I hope you enjoy this format. This is a little different than the previous settings for the Teen Scene 10. This is all the special guest for this episode and the next 5 to 6 episodes of the Teen Scene 10. The special guest will be BlackButterfli, who is also Miss D, your host. It's me. So let's get into it. I'll just give a brief testimony. My daughter she is my blessing. I am a single mom of an amazing young lady. She was 6, I believe, when she was 5, between ages 5 and 6 when I began writing these poems. I had a lot of emotion behind becoming a single mom. I was very hard on myself. There was some shame attached to it. You know, I felt ashamed of myself because I had a child outside of marriage. I felt like God couldn't use me. I felt like I was damaged goods. Now, I was raised in church. Now, let's know that I was raised in church. Been going to church since I was 2. You know, was raised in the Baptist church, and you know, so I had a very strong background because I went to Baptist schools from K4 all the way to 9th grade. So the majority of my schooling occurred in a private Baptist school. And so I've had plenty of Bible in me. Train up a child in the way they should go, and they will not stray from it. I have plenty of Bible in me. I knew the word back and forth. Trust me when I tell you that. I can sit here and recite the names of all 66 books right now, but I'm not going to do that. But you know, it was just a thing where I made a choice and I had to live with it. Now, I did have the opportunity to marry my daughter's father. He did ask me. But based on the circumstances of our relationship at that point in time, the best thing for me to do and say was no, and break the relationship off and end it, and I did. And again, I have my reasons for doing that, you know, but I don't want to, this show right now is not a vent session, it's not a rant session, and it's not a judging my kid's father session either. You know, I'll just say he had some very undesirable behaviors that I did not want to continue. And we had actually already broken off the relationship before I found out that I was pregnant with our daughter. And so I had already seen the need to get away or to get out. And I was. And I did not see being pregnant as a reason for me to go back into a situation that would not have been healthy for me. That would have been a very toxic relationship for me. And I didn't see the need to bring my child into a toxic relationship. So again, I chose to be a single mom because I really did not have to be. But I did not let fear, I did not let shame, I did not let disappointment in myself make those decisions for me. I stepped out on faith and I said, okay, God, I'm going to not be in this toxic relationship, and so I'm going to deal with whatever may come from that. And this has not been an easy path. This has not been an easy path. I've worked multiple jobs. We've gone without on occasions. I had to sacrifice my shoe budget. I had to sacrifice my getting my hair and nails done budget, my going to the spa budget. I've had to sacrifice all of that on several occasions. He did not pay child support for the first 5-6 years of her life. Even though we were, I think around the time that I had written these poems, we were actually back and forth in court. And he had already been court ordered to pay support around 2007. And he wasn't paying. And it wasn't probably until 2008 or 2009 to when we ended up having to switch and go to a different county and file in a different county. Fulton County, they don't play. And I'm so grateful for that judge, because she just came in, she handled her business, and from 2009 up until about last year, 2017, he paid consistently. Now again, my court order states that he pays till my daughter's 21. And so he's not off the hook, but he's not paying. He met someone, moved to another state, and stopped paying. So, but God will deal with that. As you can see, I don't look like I've missed a meal. And if I haven't missed a meal, my child has not missed a meal. So, it's God is continuing to bless us through this journey, even though I don't have the consistent cooperation of her dad. And for me, it's not really all about the finances. To me, what's most important is the one thing that she didn't get from him, and that's consistently his time. Consistently visiting, consistently him being available, consistently him calling her. There's been it's to the point now where my child texted and called him and left him so many messages that she just decided that, okay, I'm not calling him anymore. He hasn't returned any of my calls. He hasn't returned my text messages. I'm not calling him. And, at a certain point, that's her right, because we have to remember a girl's first relationship with a man is her relationship with her dad. And I absolutely don't want her having to run after her dad to receive love or to receive attention. And I don't want her thinking that that's how she's supposed to interact with the man. If a man shows you that he has no interest in you, move forward. Don't be in your feelings about it, even though it's hard sometimes. And especially for a kid, and that's her parent. You expect a parent to do the right thing. But, it doesn't always happen that way, and it's unfortunate, and it's hurtful. But my daughter is You know, we have worked through those emotions. One thing I recommend parents is, if you can afford it, get your child a good psychologist, not a psychiatrist. Psychiatrists write, they can write prescriptions. I'm not saying medicate your kid. I'm saying get them a psychologist so that they can have an objective person hear their heart and help them learn how to cope with these emotions that they have, the disappointment, the hurt, the rejection, the abandonment that they may feel when that other parent is not being consistent in their life, or being present or active in their life. Kids have got to know how to cope with that stuff, and that's sometimes things that we can't help them with because we're ticked off about it. We're pissed at the other parent, and you know, we're hurt by the other parent's treatment of our kids, and we can't necessarily help heal our kids. So the best way, you know, by sitting down talking to them. Now, I too also have raised my daughter to be very forgiving. So when she was little, we used to pray for her dad every night. In her prayer time, we would kneel by her bed and we would pray for her dad every night to get his life together, you know, and to become consistent. And for a while he was consistent, but then he fell back off the wagon. So, you know, people, the thing about God, God gives us free will, and so he's not going to ever force someone to do, but he has had bursts of consistency. So I think that's kind of hard for her, because right when she gets comfortable with him being there, then he disappears for a month or 3 months or a year. Like, we haven't heard from him since, actually, to the day, this time last year. October 23rd was the last time we've heard from him. But that was 2017. This is 2018. It was the day after her 16th birthday party. You know, but again, this is not a rant session or a bashing session. This is really my testimony, and just me letting single parents know that you're not alone. You're not alone. And, you know, the one thing that I know, you know, and I guess I'm sharing, you know, some of the things that I've been through. Like I said, I don't want to come across as though I'm angry or I'm bashing her dad, because I was angry. I was very angry at him, and I dealt with my anger. You know, I dealt with it, and some of that included talk therapy for me. I had to go see a social worker, a counselor, and just talk about my disappointment with the situation, or my anger with the situation. Though I do not regret not marrying him. It was the best decision I made. And every time he does something, it just shows me the bullets that I've dodged. You know, I don't think his inconsistency would have been any different inside of a marriage or inside of a relationship where we lived in the same house with our child. You know, she just would have seen her mom tolerating a bunch of nonsense and drama and dealing with stuff. So, you know, or she would have been subjected to some arguing and just things of that nature. So my daughter grew up in a peaceful house. She didn't grow up with parents arguing and, you know, fighting and all of that. And so it's really, you know, there's two sides to the coin. I look for the blessings in even the hard situations. I do. And, you know, for my daughter, she's always had access to her dad. And so when he didn't respond to her reaching out to him, you know, I would always just try to, you know, without saying anything bad about him to her, I would just, you know, be very firm and just, you know, reassuring, and just tell her, look, daddy's not making good choices right now. You haven't done anything wrong. These are daddy's decisions, and he's not making good choices right now. And so what we have to do is just pray for daddy, and you keep an open and forgiving heart, and you forgive him. You know, teach your kids to be forgiving. Don't teach them to tolerate crap, because there were, you know, but teach them to be forgiving. Now, there were moments where, you know, he may have skipped a birthday or skipped Christmas and then want to call her, like, you know, after the fact. And she was like, Mom, I'm upset and I really don't want to speak with him, or I really don't want to see him. Or, you know, there was one Christmas he bought her all this stuff, and, you know, she didn't hear from him for Christmas. He didn't call to wish him Merry Christmas or try to see her on Christmas. And, you know, he showed up like 2-3 days later, like, okay, Merry Christmas, and I'm your dad, and you have to talk to me because I'm your dad. And she's like, Mom, I'm really upset. I really don't want the gifts, and I don't want to talk to him. And I said, okay, because my daughter has a right to feel her feelings. I'm not going to teach my child to tolerate anybody's crap. Not her dad, not from me, not from anybody. God didn't tell us to turn the other cheek so that somebody could punch us in it. He didn't. You know, and, you know, if God gives us free will, as a parent, God gives us free will. So I felt like in that moment where her dad had been neglectful and she was feeling rejected and unimportant, and then he just showed up with all these gifts 2-3 days later, like she had heard nothing from him. She was looking for him all day Christmas Day to hear from him, and she got nothing, just crickets. And then here 2-3 days later he shows up with all these gifts. You know, I had to commend my daughter for saying, no, Mom, this is how I feel, and I don't want to talk to him. You know, I had to commend her for not being bought or being swayed by the gifts, but being true to what she was feeling and being comfortable enough and confident enough in me to tell me, Mommy, do I have to? I really don't want to. And I told her, I said, you honor your feelings, baby. You haven't done anything disrespectful. You honor your feelings. Now, he was 38 hot. He was like, he called me all kinds of, told me I was a crazy bee for not forcing her to talk to him or to see him or to take his gifts and all of that. Oh, he acted out. But, you know, like I told him, she has feelings. She has emotions. And you, as a parent, need to acknowledge them. And if, because you make it such a point not to, I have to. Because I'm obviously the only person that's raising her. You know, and so this is what this poem, this CD is about. It's about just empowering parents to make the right choices. We are parents first. And children are a reward from God. They're a gift. It says that in Proverbs. The children are a gift. They're a reward. And so we have to raise them as such. We have to treat them and revere them as such. That they are a blessing from the Lord. That they are a gift. And we have to have confidence in our decisions as the custodial parent to know that even though this non-custodial parent may clown me, may act a fool, may disrespect me, I'm still the one my child is watching. You know? And so I'm not going to, I used to always say, and I still say to this day, I am not going to block my blessings trying to get this man told. I'm not going to block my blessings. What I'm going to do is excuse myself from this nonsense that he's trying to bring into my space. And I'm going to sit back and watch God handle it. You know, Numbers 6:24 says, may the Lord bless you and protect you. I have so many testimonies about how the Lord protected me from nonsense. And just, oh my goodness. I am a drama-free mama. Drama-free. You know, like I said, I dealt with my anger. Once I dealt with my anger toward him and I got all of that stuff out, all that ugliness and all that nasty anger out of my system, I was so free, and I'm still so free, because I know that God has got me and he's going to handle it. My daughter has not missed a beat. She is an honor student. She is now in a performing arts magnet program. Oh my gosh, they had their fall concert just last week and they were awesome. They killed it. She's gifted. She's talented. She's a 4-time junior Olympian. She's taken ballet, all kinds of dance classes. She's taken Spanish when she was little. Of course, she took it in high school. But I'm talking about when she was in Montessori school. She went to private school from age 15 months all the way up to third grade, age 8. My daughter is blessed. She's had the good fortune to be selected for the Elite 31 mentor program at Word of Faith Family Worship Cathedral, where we attend church. And she's gotten direct mentoring from the Bronner twins. I mean, look at God. Look at God. You know, she's been blessed to have good male role models in her life. Her godfather, who you'll hear later on this track that I'm going to play for you, from the intro, for the CD, D. Lord from Strictly Observations crew. She's got my brother, her uncle. She's got my dad. You know, she's got her track coach, Coach Rex. She's got all these strong male figures, upstanding men, great fathers. You know, so God said, okay, your one dad kind of fell short. So you know what, kiddo? I'm gonna give you 4. I'm not just gonna double you for your trouble. I'm gonna triple you for your trouble. I'm gonna put 4 strong men of God in your life, so that you can understand what a dad is supposed to look like, and you can see it modeled. Now, does she miss her daddy? Of course. Does she wish that her dad was doing what he was supposed to do? Of course. She loves her dad. But at the same time, my daughter has learned how to cope with the void that his inconsistencies have caused in her life. And that is what, and she has managed to stay forgiving. When she sees him, she welcomes him with open arms. She does not give him attitude. She has never been disrespectful or anything of that nature, because I won't have it. I will not tolerate it. You know, she's had her moments where she may have tried to say something to me, you know, to express her disappointment in him, and I will let her get it out, and then I bring the correction in the right time. Like, okay, I understand you don't like his behavior. I don't like it either, but that's your dad, and you will at least express yourself respectfully. You will not disrespect him in that sense. You're not going to say anything out of the way about your dad. We're not going to speak that. You can express your disappointment, your anger, your hurt feelings. You can express that without being disrespectful. And I always urge her to definitely share with him how his behavior makes her feel. You know, that's another thing. I want her to learn to communicate when something that a person is doing is making her uncomfortable or it's hurting her in any way, because she matters, and I want her to know that she matters, and I want her to know that she has a voice. And as parents, we have to do that. We have to instill that in our kids and let them know that they have a voice. And as the custodial parent, we also have to be that balm to their soul when that other parent lets them down or disappoints them or hurts them or, you know, rejects them or says something that's damaging to them. We have to kind of be that, not kind of, we definitely have to be that balm to our kids and let them know, hey, I got you. I know that's what he said, but again, that wasn't the best choice. And we know that that's not true, because look at you. You are gifted. You are talented. You are my blessing. You are special to me. You are loved. Look around. God is providing for us. Our journey hasn't been easy, but it has been gracious. Grace brings love when we need it. Grace brings comfort when we need it. And those are things that we have been blessed with on a regular basis. You know, Numbers 6:25 says, may the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. He has absolutely been gracious to us. He has been our rock and our shield. He has been our armor. He has protected us in ways that I don't even think I have enough tape to go in, tape time to go into explaining that. But, you know, verse 26 says, may the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. And he absolutely has done that. You know, he has taught us how to handle the inconsistencies of a flesh and blood father. You know, when my daughter was little, she used to ask where her dad was, and at that time I didn't really have an idea where he was, where he had moved to. He really wasn't consistent with keeping in touch with me even throughout my pregnancy. Half the time I didn't know where he was, you know, and half the time I either didn't have his current phone number, or, you know, I would sometimes call some of his family members and leave messages, but, you know, I just didn't know when he was going to get back in contact with me. So I really didn't have a situation where I could just call him and depend on him to be there, to be a support system, to co-parent our daughter. I just did not get that. I still haven't gotten it. The girl will be 17 tomorrow. So, you know, but that's okay. I can find the bright side of that. There was nobody to oppose me when I made a decision about her. You know, when I made the decision to put her in private school or do special things for her, or I had no opposition because I had nobody to ask. So, I mean, on the bright side of it, I really got to do what I wanted to do and raise her how I wanted to raise her. Even though I honestly would have preferred for it to be a collective effort. Because her dad, I mean, I've known her dad since 11th grade, since we were 16. Her dad is a very intelligent man. He's a very well-read man. He's an educated man. You know, and in those ways, he has some wisdom that he could have offered to her, you know, in academics or in the things that he knows about. But in terms of teaching her how to treat people, well, you know, that goes without saying. Just listen to the CD. I don't even have to get into it. You know, listen to the poem, What You Do. But I just had to understand and learn to always keep in front of me that God was my source. He still is my source, and that he is my provider. You know, like I said in the poem, he always sent somebody with a fistful of blessings to save the day. Always. My parents have been huge support systems financially. when it came to me falling short and needing a little extra help, you know, to do stuff for Amani. They have been there for their grandbaby. That is the God to honest truth. They are the truth. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for always being there. You know, I've had a few friends that were able to, you know, I really didn't date a whole lot in front of my daughter, so it wasn't until really pretty much last year that I dated someone who was actually around my daughter. And, you know, he was very generous toward my daughter as well. You know, even to the point that he helped. I ran a little short on money trying to get her. She had a nice Sweet 16 party, and if you know, venues cost, catering costs, decorations cost, all of that. So by the time I got to the actual cake and the sweet table for the party, I had spent out, and I was in a relationship with someone who was very gracious, and I never even asked him. He honestly just volunteered to help out. He just was like, what do you need? You know, what still needs to be done? And he just handled it for me. And so, like I said, God always blesses us. So thank you for that, Corey. You know, God always blesses us with people in our lives. If we step back and let him really handle it, and we stop trying to do stuff in our own power, God will provide. He is the source. He will put people in your life that can do it, and they will. So just trust God. So just stop, and easier said than done, stop worrying about how stuff is going to get paid, but you have to learn to just start walking in your faith and just saying, okay, God, I need X, Y, and Z for my child, and I don't know how this is going to get paid for. I don't know how this is going to get taken care of. I don't know, but you know. So just open me up to those opportunities, Lord. Send someone, Lord. You know, Lord, put me on somebody's spirit to bless me. You have to just constantly stay in contact with God. You've got to have a strong prayer life. As a single parent, if you don't develop anything else, develop your prayer life. Develop your prayer life. I open my eyes in the morning, the first words out of my mouth are, thank you, Lord, that I woke up. The next words that come out of my mouth are me praying for my child, covering her for the day, and then I pray for my family and my friends. And then finally I get around to praying for myself. You know, but it's just a thing where you've got to have that relationship with God. You have to. It's essential. It's monumental. It's a necessity. I don't know how else to express it to you. You've got to do it. That is where your peace is going to come from. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. You have to be in relationship with him. Have to be. He will make a way out of no way. I got so many testimonies about that. He will make a way out of no way. I have had debts, thousands of dollar debts forgiven. Somebody just called me out of the blue. Do you have a debt with it was a medical debt. It was a medical bill with the hospital. You owe such and such hospital several $1,000s? I do. Well, your debt has been forgiven. God is a source. He is a provider. You gotta trust him. You gotta have that relationship with him. I'm gonna go through the takeaway points, and then I'm gonna play the CD for you. So, God is your provider, your source, and you can look at 2 Corinthians 9 and 8 in the New Living Translation. And I think I've covered trust God. That's Proverbs 3, 4, and 5. And then God's grace is sufficient. 1 Corinthians 16, 23. May the grace of the Lord Jesus be with you. His grace is amazing. It is sufficient. It is, I can't even, His grace is, I was listening to, I have a coaching app from Iyanla Van and she was comparing God's grace to it being more loving than the most loving lover, or it being more comfortable than the softest blanket, or something of that nature. She was just saying how gentle and comforting and beautiful God's grace is. It is, and it's on time. It's love when you need it. It's a hug when you need it. It's a shoulder when you need it. It's that comforting, supportive, I got you when you need it. I can't tell, like I said, I owe so much to my parents. I cannot thank them enough for being there. To my family, my whole family. You know, for all of the people that are in my village that helped me raise my daughter. She is a beautiful human being. And I could not have done it by myself, and I did not do it by myself. I did not do it in the way that I thought I was going to do it with her dad, you know, but nonetheless, I did it, and I had a support system. I had my village around me. God put people strategically in place at different points in my life, even down to this particular taping of the Teen Scene 10. My daughter's piano sign language teacher, who also hosts the Terri Graham radio show, made a platform for the Teen Scene 10 to be a part of the Terri Graham radio show. When I tell you that God is a provider and that you trust Him and that He puts people around you that have, you know, as a show of His grace and His love for you, oh my goodness. You know, not only is Terri a really close sister of mine now, we're family at this point. She's been teaching my daughter piano for 8 years. You know, but again, from day one, she was encouraging me to use my gifts and my talents. And she invited me on her show, you know, and the Terri Graham radio show. So I have been a guest of the Terri Graham radio show. And of her TV show. You know, I have, long before the Teen Scene 10 was even an idea in my head. You know, and I just can't express to you guys enough all of the amazing people. You know, I really got to give a shout out to Evangelist Terri. Bam, sister girl. Because, you know, she has helped me cultivate my gifts. And I have God to thank for that, for putting somebody who understood my struggle as a single mom, because she's been through it herself, who understands, you know, she just understands like a sister. You know, we sit and talk and sometimes bounce ideas off of each other. It's just amazing, you know, and I just cannot thank her enough for the Women's Friendship Group that I became a part of and am now the president of, you know, because she appointed me. She spoke with God, and God gave her my name to be the president of her organization. And even though I tried to run from it, but it was because of, you know, me not wanting to, because of what I was dealing with at the time. I just didn't know if I would have the time to commit to it, and I don't have to do anything. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way. You know, so I don't like to commit to things if I don't think that I'm going to be able to give my 200% to it. But even with that, God has made a way for me to be able to be in this position and give my 200% to it. You know, so I just can't even express to you guys how amazing this journey has been for me and for my daughter. My daughter is emotionally healthy despite all of the nonsense that she has dealt with from her dad. Her relationship with her dad. She's a strong young woman who's getting ready to go off to college next year. And I have confidence that she won't be one of those girls with daddy issues, and she won't be one of these girls, you know, getting into bad situations and bad relationships because she had daddy issues and she's out, you know, searching for her daddy through her romantic relationships with men. I have no fear of that because I know what has been put in place for her. I know, you know, that we were able to give her coping skills. Coping skills are huge. And as a parent, be big enough to recognize if you don't want your kid to pick up your coping skills, recognize whether or not your coping skills are weak and are they something that you would want to pass on to your kids. You have to be honest with yourself. This journey has been graceful, but it has not been void of me having to have those come to Jesus meetings with myself. Me having to look at the ugly parts of me and saying, okay, D, what's really going on? Do you really want your daughter acting like that? What kind of example are you setting? What kind of environment are you setting? What kind of fruit are you nurturing inside of your child through these behaviors that you're exhibiting? Do you want your kid to pick this up from you? You know, and there were times where it was a resounding heck to the no. So, you know, the journey has been graceful, but it has been honest. I had to be honest with myself. I had to be honest with myself. You know, let me go back to these Bible verses where I was talking about God as a provider. 2 Corinthians 9:8, and God will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. Praise God. Isn't that amazing? We will have all that we need and plenty left over to share with others. I can testify to that. I can attest to that. It has happened for me on my graceful journey. Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not depend on your own understanding. Again, get out of your own way. Trust God to turn around or to deal with that non-custodial parent who isn't doing their part. Trust God to deal with that and don't necessarily try to figure it out in your own strength. Some things are not required for you to analyze, diagnose, all of that. Sometimes we just have to learn how to just let stuff go and let God handle it. 1 Corinthians 16:23, may the grace of the Lord Jesus be with you. So it was really important for me to make sure that you guys got those verses. And, you know, just think about what I said. It's really, really an honor to be able to share my poems with you. My Graceful Journey, the poetic collection for the single parent edition of the Teen Scene 10. I'm really honored. You just don't understand how excited I am for this. And I prayed before we started shooting that this will bless the masses. So tune into this episode and then know that you've got 5 more after this one. So I absolutely would love for you to go to my YouTube page. It's D.N. Anderson, or you can subscribe to my page, absolutely, on YouTube, or you can go to the Terri Graham radio show on YouTube, or you can go to search and type in the Teen Scene 10 library, and you can find all the episodes, because this is the 3rd season of the Teen Scene 10. And so what I'm really excited about is that I got the opportunity to share my CD through my podcast. But I have 20 other podcasts from 2 other seasons where I dealt with the issues of bullying and the emotions behind bullying, and I did some interviews. So you'll see a very different format because I had interviews with people in the previous seasons. But absolutely go back and check those out and use those as teaching tools as well. So before we run out of time, I have been promising to share with you all the CD version of the intro from My Graceful Journey, the Poetic Collection for the Single Parent, featuring D. Lord from Strictly Observation Crew. And if you're from the Cascade area, then you remember those those Saturdays at Starbucks where D. Lord and Strictly Observation Crew were performing. They have a nice following in the Atlanta area, and there are some very talented poets, and I'm just very blessed to be able to call D. Lord a good friend. I've known David since I was in high school, so and he's an awesome dad, husband, teacher, coach, and godfather to my daughter. So I just really want to shout him out as well for this. And even though we did this track 10 years ago, it's still one of my favorites. And I'm still so grateful that he came out and blessed it for me. So without further ado, I'm gonna play the intro for My Graceful Journey, and I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope just listen to the music, how it just kind of flows, it just kind of rides out. It's so soothing. So just check this out and enjoy.
Lord, here I stand before you, a single mother out here on my own, praying for guidance to make it through and learning more every day to trust you. I struggle from check to check to make ends meet. Lord, please forgive my baby's dad for behaving like a deadbeat. Lord, make him understand that his child has to eat, and if he doesn't provide, that leaves a double burden on me. That money isn't to buy me designer shoes. It's to keep the utilities on for his child to use, and to buy her the things she needs. But he's too busy worrying that if he pays, he might help me. Lord, I know he's not the only male who doesn't treasure the benefits of fatherhood, nor is he the only one who fails to see the necessity of providing like he should. It takes so much to raise a child, and with one humble income, I don't know how he expects his child to live. I mean, he should learn to have more than he did. But Lord, I've got to thank you for always taking care of that. Father, you've been faithful and always sent someone with a fistful of blessings to save the day. So, even if her dad doesn't provide or visit like he should, my baby is still blessed because, God, you are so good. Lord, though times are trying and it feels like my motivation to make it through is slowly dying, I wouldn't trade this path I walk for the world. For you've kept me in your embrace every step of the way. And though trouble comes, it doesn't come to stay. Father, thank you for each and every day you teach me about the beauty and wonder of walking in your grace. Here I stand before you, a single mother out here on my own, praying for guidance to make it through and learning more every day to trust you. I struggle from check to check to make ends meet. Lord, please forgive my baby's dad for behaving like a deadbeat. Lord, make him understand that his child has to eat, and if he doesn't provide, that leaves a double burden on me. That money isn't to buy me designer shoes. It's to keep the utilities on for his child to use. She needs to eat, and to buy her the things she needs, like food. But he's too busy worrying that if he pays, he might help me. Lord, I know he's not the only male who doesn't treasure the benefits of fatherhood, nor is he the only one who fails to see the necessity of providing like he should. It takes so much to raise a child, and with one humble income, I don't know how he expects this child to live. I mean, he should want her to have more than he did. But Lord, I've got to thank you for always taking care of that. Father, you've been faithful and always sent someone with a fistful of blessings to save the day. So, even if her dad doesn't provide or visit like he should, my baby is still blessed because, God, you are so good. Lord, though times are trying and it feels like my motivation to make it through is slowly dying, I wouldn't trade this path I walk for the world. For you've kept me in your embrace every step of the way. And though trouble comes, it doesn't come to stay. Father, thank you for each and every day. You teach me about the beauty and wonder of walking in your grace.
Dear Lord, what up, folks? Yes, you know who. Right now, I know you're the only one I know who has access to my whole script on this journey right now that is so graceful. If life is like a box of chocolates, then I thank you for letting me get a face full. And thanks for keeping my place full of love and happiness. I would love to take credit for this, but I know it's you mapping this out years before I was even a spark in my mom's and pop's eyes. Back before I was sitting on the tops of my mom's and pop's thighs. When they would read me to sleep until bedtime. Way before How Many D Lord Scored was the headline. Way before I even said lines of this poetry in front of standing room only crowds at Starbucks. With my heart stuck in my throat and the words are making their way around that lump because the energy got me nervous. But I keep going because I know it's your ministry at its service. It is. That's the purpose that I can tell. And you show me so much that I have a hard time narrowing it down to that. I can tell. But I know you've been the center of my existence. That I can tell.
I hope you enjoyed that. The second one that I played was actually the version that I wanted you guys to hear. I played the first version by mistake. That was just me on the track, and then I had the second version featuring D Lord from Strictly Observations crew, who again is my daughter's godfather, and a friend a longtime friend. I've known him since I was in high school. But I just really hope that it blessed you, and I thank you for joining me on the Teen Scene 10. This is BlackButterfli and Miss D signing off for the Teen Scene 10 My Graceful Journey edition on the Terri Graham Radio Show. Mwah.